Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming at you on this Monday. And first and foremost, as always, want to send out positive vibrations and blessings to anybody who could be listening. Now, with all that being said, we know that the Los Angeles Lakers were in action over the course of the holiday weekend. And unfortunately, I was unable to come at you all with my reactions for the game. But at the end of the day, the Lakers have been playing well. And, we're just going to do a quick recap of the Dallas game. And, of course, LeBron's return to Cleveland as the Lakers took on the Cavs on, I believe, what was Saturday night. But at the end of the day, the Lakers have been playing well, winning 6 out of the last 8 games. I know a lot of people are saying, well, they're not playing great against the best teams, but then they beat weaker opponents. Now, I will say this. You have to take care of your weaker opponents through the course of the season in order to put yourself in position to have a good seeding to go into the playoffs. And we see when the Lakers play these, not the play-in tournament, but the in-season tournament, they step their game up a notch. And, of course, I did a pre-game video, I do believe, talking about how the Lakers would take care of the Dallas Mavericks. And I said if they came out sluggish in the first quarter, which they have been doing terrible at this year, one of the worst teams historically of all time, actually, with scoring in the first quarter as far as point differential between them and their opponent, I think was like a -9.5 or -10 points that the Lakers were averaging on the season, just coming out, just getting down in the first quarter. And that's exactly what they did against the Dallas Mavericks. And of course, LeBron James had a relatively quiet game throughout the first 3 quarters of that Dallas game. I will say this, though. He was missing a lot of bunnies at the beginning, and I don't know if it was just due to, coming up on the Thanksgiving holiday or just playing so many games in so many days. If you count it up, I think the Lakers played like 7 games in 10 days and, at least 3 games in 5 nights and, in the midst of a back-to-back as well. So even though LeBron had only played a few minutes prior to that in the game before that, when they played, the game that they played against, when they played Utah, the game before they played Dallas. But at the end of the day, the Lakers had to exert a lot of energy and effort, having been down, I think, 21 or 22 points, to come back and actually took the lead in the latter portions of that game with maybe just a minute and a half, 2 minutes left to go in the game. Actually could have took it, I think, up to a 4-point lead. But actually, what I will say is this, LeBron James, he made a fatal mistake at the end, a terrible mistake at the end, to where he threw up the alley-oop to Anthony Davis, and he just could not, put enough oomph on it. So I think right there shows you the fatigue that he's been under just because of what he's dealing with as far as playing so many games and so many nights and the load that he had been carrying. But one thing I will say about this, Anthony Davis could have played a lot harder and a lot more aggressive, because Dallas has a lack of rim protection and a lack of bigs. So you would think that Anthony Davis would have showed up and showed out, but he did not. And in that Dallas game, actually, if I take a look at the stats, Anthony Davis only had 10 points, was 4 out of 10, but only had 10 shot attempts. And, LeBron James, I think he scored 14 or 16 points in that fourth quarter to put the Lakers back in position. But ultimately, what the Lakers' downfall was, and you can't just pick one play. But, of course, Luka was breaking down the defense. But, Taurean Prince had him in a good position. But Austin Reeves cheated off Kyrie way too much. And you do not leave Kyrie open for an open 3 like that. And they had held the Mavericks to maybe like 8 points for the entire fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. And then just to leave your man open like that is not a good thing. And that is what led to the game winner ultimately, with Kyrie hitting that. I would have liked to see the Lakers had 2 timeouts in their pocket. I would like to see maybe Ham call a timeout and they could set up a play. LeBron says he made the right decision in tossing that up to Anthony Davis, but Taurean Prince was open on the wing. But maybe from LeBron James' perspective, that pass could have been picked off, and they ultimately came with a double. But I think had LeBron put some more oomph on that basket and allowed AD to jump up and get it high, then I think AD could have finished at the rim or either got fouled with a chance to go to the free throw line and win the game, because they were only down by 1. But at the end of the day, it was still a little bit more time on the clock. I think LeBron James had a mismatch himself where he maybe could have took that to the rim as well. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. But one thing that's good to see, I've been talking about Anthony Davis, not playing well against the better centers in this league, such as Sabonis when he got owned by the Kings not too long ago. But then, just coming out and just playing well against Sagoon, in Houston, even though Sagoon had a pretty good game. He's an up-and-coming center as well. But at the end of the day, it was great to see in the next game because the Lakers, after the Lakers played Dallas, they ended up playing Cleveland, as we know, and went out for their first game on the road and ended up winning the Cleveland game 121-115. And then you saw a lot more aggression out of Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis said, well, they're calling more plays for me. Well, they need to keep doing that because if they do that and get you your touches, then you can get into a rhythm and actually contribute to the Lakers' victories because in the game against Dallas, you only had 10 shot attempts, whereas in the game against Cleveland, you had 20 shot attempts, which is doubling the shot attempts, and had a great game, 13 out of 20, 65% from the field for Anthony Davis, man, and 6 out of 7 from free throws. And as we saw in this game, LeBron James wasn't his best game. Terrible. He's been shooting great from three all year. Not sure why. Maybe he was back in his hometown and he went out and kicked it or something the night before. I don't know. But I don't know what their season percentage is now because he was up to a career high of 41%. And then he went down. So now 1 out of 9, 11% from three. That was terrible. But it was LeBron James. Ultimately, 8 out of 23, 34%. Not a LeBron James type performance, especially back in his hometown of Cleveland. But what he did do in the late portions of the game was 2 clutch baskets with Austin Reeves having good vision to see a cut in LeBron James. They could see the vision and what they have as far as chemistry on the court with just looking at each other. Austin Reeves gave LeBron the look. He cut to the basket and still finished between 2 other players who met him at the rim, which was as nice clutch play as it gets from LeBron James, actually putting them in the lead in a couple minutes left in that game. And then on the very next possession, it was Austin Reeves finding and cutting LeBron James to the basket for a 2-hand dunk finish at the rim to ultimately put them up by, I think, 6 or 7 at that time and put the game out of reach. And, just take care of business out on that road trip. D'Angelo Russell, continuing to see him struggle, only 4 out of 12, 33%. Man, just not looking good for D'Lo. Austin Reeves, as we can see, got 32 minutes compared to D'Lo, 31 minutes. But ultimately, Austin Reeves coming off the bench, really maybe it needs to be D'Lo going to the bench, because when they get in crunch time, if you notice what the Lakers have been doing and what Darvin Ham has elected to do is play Austin Reeves. And now, I think the Lakers have a pretty good performance considering that they're missing 2 of their best perimeter defenders and on-ball defenders, in that of Cam Reddish, who's been playing great defense early on in the season, and then that, of course, of Vanderbilt, who hasn't played at all this season but is close to coming back. So if you think about it, if you had Cam Reddish and a Vanderbilt out there, then you have more people who you can put on the Kyrie Irving or a Luka Doncic, like within that Dallas matchup, So the Lakers, they still got to get back healthy. Hachimura, after coming back from the concussion and the eye contusion, now something happens with his nose where he got hit in the nose, I think in the Utah game. So he actually has to have a quick little surgery on the nose to get back right. So now the Lakers definitely just playing an 8-man rotation. And speaking of 8-man rotation, got to give shouts out to Max Christie, man. Max Christie, hell of a performance. The first game against Dallas, not so much. He didn't play too well. Maybe, that was his first start of the season, trying to get back into a rhythm. But the next game, he came out and he was ready, because in the first game, I want to say, Max Christie was like a minus 19 on the floor. It was only 3 out of 7. But in the next game, if you take a look at it, Max Christie was a +6. And he was 5 out of 7 for 71% and 2 out of 4 from 3. And you can see him and Austin Reeves developing a little bit of chemistry. And that as well for Austin Reeves getting nice looks to a cutting Jackson Hayes. So the Lakers playing with their short 8-man rotation. Shouts out to Christian Wood and Jackson Hayes. Now, what we can do is preview the Lakers game tonight against the 76ers. I just feel like the Lakers in this matchup, first of all, I don't know if y'all heard this, but Paul Reed, man, Paul Reed came out and disrespected Anthony Davis and, quote, said he's a big flopper, so I got to make sure that I don't get in foul trouble early. Can't be too aggressive with him. You know, he's going to be flailing. So got to make sure that I stay out of foul trouble. Now, this was Paul Reed in shoot around when reporters and local reporters there was asking him about their matchup tonight with the Los Angeles Lakers. So I don't know if y'all remember maybe the last season, and we're talking about reigning MVP, that of Joel Embiid. But while he's talking about Anthony Davis is flopping, Anthony Davis and LeBron James get a combined 12 free throw attempts a game. And I think, 5 for LeBron and 6 for Anthony Davis, 11 a game, my bad. And then Embiid gets like 11.5 a game or something like that. So Embiid, who probably is a bigger flopper than LeBron and AD puts together, gets more free throw attempts a game than both of LeBron and AD combined. Please make that make sense. Please make that make sense that somehow Joel Embiid, who takes a lot of jumpers, mind you, take a lot of threes and everything, mind you, who doesn't even get to the rim as much as an AD or a LeBron James, but yet gets twice as many free throw attempts. I'm not going to say it's an agenda or anything like that. I'm just saying we can talk about it another show. It's kind of like how Shaq used to be. He's hard to referee. LeBron James is hard to referee just because he's big and strong and he make people look weak and inferior. So, but that's not his fault. But at the end of the day, man, we want to see Anthony Davis come out. I think last season in the last matchup, Anthony Davis played well. The Lakers were behind by like 20, I think, and came back and took the game to overtime and ultimately lost. That was in Philly last year. But in the second game, Anthony Davis got in so much foul trouble early on himself against Joel Embiid. So it'll be key for Anthony Davis not to get in foul trouble. What I do like better about this Lakers team than that of last year is you have a Jackson Hayes who doesn't have the physique that to contend with maybe a Joel Embiid, but he does have that athleticism and he can perhaps stretch the floor, even though he's not a great three-point shooter, but you got to respect it. So he could, in fact, play during the game. And then, of course, Christian Wood, who I think can hold his own and be respectable as a backup dependent. So we're going to see, what's going to go down tonight. But if I had to guess, the Lakers cannot come out sluggish in the first quarter. I'm telling you right now, if they come out sluggish in the first quarter, this is not going to be a game they can win. I predict that they keep it close throughout the majority of the first half, have a strong third quarter, and it'll be anybody's game to win in the fourth. Haven't looked at the point spread for tonight, so forgive me. But if I was a betting man, if they giving the Lakers anything more than 3.5 or 4, then I would take it. Man, but if you haven't done so already, hit that like, hit that bell, hit that subscribe. And as always, man, this has been your boy B New. I'm saying right on to the real and much love to these haters. I'm out.